All right, so what we're going to do today is you guys have been kind of doing some different things with comparison and contrast, and we're going to continue that with comparing and contrasting visuals. And this is really good because as soon as we finish reading Faulkner, which we're going to do, we're starting this week, all right? As soon as we finish reading Faulkner, you guys are going to do a photo analysis essay where you analyze a photo. You're going to do like a rhetorical analysis of a visual image. All right, and that we're hoping to kind of have it coincide with our field trip that we're kind of still working on establishing the dates for. A
field trip?
All right, so yeah, on our field trip, we are going to go to Montgomery. We're trying to get the cost down because it's really expensive right now, but we want to go to Montgomery, and we want to go to the archives and Dr. King's church, and we want to go to the new Freedom Memorial that has just opened. So, and we want to have y'all kind of do some research and stuff over there. But right now we're working on it because the cost was pretty high in our opinions. So we're working on that. But I'll get to that later. All right. So anyway, what we're going to do now is if you have the red book, you're opening to page 222. If you have the yellow book, you are opening to page 228.
You have the red book on page
222 in the red book, 228 in the yellow book. All right, so let's take a moment and look at this worksheet that I have given you. You're going to work on this a little bit today in class, and you're going to finish this tonight for homework, and you're going to turn it in tomorrow. I know, homework. Hey, y'all have had it really not bad.
It's been awful.
So you can handle this. Okay. So what we're looking at, and I know it's hard to see it on the screen, but you can match it up to your sheet, is optic. O-P-T-I-C. And optic is like, optical, you can see, visual. And so it's just an acronym to help us remember the things that we can look at when we're analyzing something in terms of what we see. Okay, so our overview, in the overview, you are quite honestly summarizing what you see. You're just giving us a summary. And this is the O, for the parts, the P section, how do the individual parts of the image work together? T is title. What information do you get from the title? I is imagery and inferences. What can you infer that is not obvious? And C is, what is your conclusion regarding the image? All right, so these are our letters that we're going through and what we are really kind of working toward. All right, so in our first image, you guys I'm sure have seen this before, right? This is American Gothic, and it is a painting by Grant Wood, and he is from Iowa. He is an Iowan. And we actually see here a farmer, and this is actually his daughter. and they are standing in front of this farmhouse. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to provide a general overview of what we see. So in terms of an overview, if I were going to summarize this picture, I might say, hey, y'all know that picture of that guy, and he's standing in front of a house, he's got a pitchfork in his hand, and there's like a girl with him? Then you would most likely know what I was talking about because this painting is famous, right? Okay, so that's what I did. We have a man and a woman standing in front of a farmhouse, and the man holds a pitchfork. All right? Plain and simple. I've just summarized what I see. A man and a woman standing in front of a farmhouse, and the man is holding a pitchfork. All right, then we're going to look at the parts. All right, so I said in the very front foreground, we have the pitchfork, like it's closest to the viewer. And then we have the man. And then behind the man is the woman. And in the background is the house, and they're standing away from the house. All right, and so we don't have a whole lot more room there, but we do have some room at the bottom that we can say some other things later. And so those are the parts that I am seeing. All right, those are the parts that I'm seeing in the image. All right, and so then we're looking at the title. So our title here is American Gothic. And we're just kind of like trying to discern what additional information about this image that we can gather from the fact that the title is American Gothic. All right? So, you know, Gothic is a style of literature that combines fiction, romanticism, and horror. And then America, there's a lot of, you know, symbolic suggestions and the idea that, you know, we have a farmer here, and he's standing in front of his farmhouse in middle America. You know, this is very important. You know, what kind of commentary is being made? You know, we have, you know, America kind of like the land of, you know, riches and hope, and, you know, you can move here and make all your dreams come true. But then you have that Gothic element here. What is being suggested by naming the painting this, American Gothic? It's almost like it gives it, you know, a creepy factor that is not, you know, at first portrayed, that you can kind of look at later and pick up on.
Are we supposed to go to the second period and then go to the symbol, or just leave after this one?
I think you just leave after this class. Okay, imagery or inferences. All right, the pitchfork is symbolic. It's the farmer and the daughter. And from their facial expressions, I'm like, they have kind of a stern, kind of a cool or a cold relationship, perhaps. And then for our conclusion, we have, it's a clean image, but there's kind of a creepy vibe that I might not have thought about previously to looking at the title, but maybe there's just more to the story than is present at first glance here. All right, so now at the bottom of our sheet, have y'all got that, or do I need to pause? All right. So now let's look at our image and let's make a list of other things that we see. Okay? So what are some things that we notice in this image? Just toss me some ideas out and I'm going to jot them down up here.
30.
Pardon?
Like 30.
Huh?
I said 30.
Dirty in the top image?
Oh, no. Oh, sorry. I thought we were moving on to the next.
No, we're still in the top one. We're still in American Gothic. What else do we notice?
They're wearing coffee.
Okay.
They seem pretty wealthy.
Huh?
They seem pretty wealthy.
They seem wealthy? Maybe not wealthy, but
Not broke.
not broke. Okay. Middle class. What else? Okay. She's not looking straight ahead. Her gaze is slightly averted, maybe looking at him. What else? Maybe the facial expression's neither smiling.
Their clothes look dirty.
What?
Their clothes aren't dirty. They're clean.
What about their accessories?
Is it clear?
Yeah, she has a cameo.
She has what?
Cameo is what that pin at her neck is called. hmm What do we see in terms of their hair?
Pulled back.
hmm
Deep ball.
He is clean shaven. What in the background do you see? Okay.
You said I see polka dotted curtains.
Curtains.
Yeah.
Polka dotted curtains. He's got on glasses. All right, let's look at it. What kind of lines do we see? And where do we see the lines? What kind of lines?
There's one on his shirt.
There's lines on his shirt.
I love a pitchfork.
There's lines on his pitchfork.
There's lines from the shadow on the curtain.
There's lines from the shadow on the curtain. There's lines on the board and batten of the house. What kind of lines are those?
Parallel.
Vertical. All right, so we have vertical lines. It's almost, why the pitchfork too? You know, it's like, you know, you could see a father and a mother and a child. It's almost like the pitchfork is standing in for another person. You know.
On like the shirt.
Yes, and the pitchfork pattern is also on the stitching of his overalls.
I feel like you just got that line. It looks like he's wearing overalls.
It does.
You see it? Do y'all see that? The pitchfork pattern on the overalls stitching?
No.
Like, all right, so here's the pitchfork, and it's got 3 tines right here on his overalls.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
And there's polka dots on her shirt.
Yep, and there's polka dots on her shirt. back here in the back, it's hard to see, but there's a cactus, and it has 3 things that stick up, kind of like a pitchfork.
Where's that?
Right here.
Right behind the girl's shoulder.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's very, very balanced. All right, lots of balance.
You got a flat chin.
It's Lamar. It's like a cult.
There's a lot of practice.
Yeah, like a cult.
Lots of balance. Plant. And basically, is it 3 people? I'm going to ask myself that. He's got his pitchfork there. There's 3 windows.
3 is just looking over. That's not looking over.
There's actually 3 buildings. We see the house, the shed to the right, and in the back, behind the trees, is the steeple for a church.
I was wondering what that little thing was.
The part that's on the top of the house is just cut off in this reprint, but it's just one of those weather vanes. All right, so we see a lot here, right? All right, let's move on and look at rural rehabilitation client. How might we summarize rural rehabilitation client? Rural is a hard word for me to say. Rural. How?
It's like poem.
Yeah, poem. How might we summarize rural rehabilitation client?
Man and woman staying of a cabin.
And this is a photograph. And this was a painting. So what about the parts here? Foreground we see people. Background we see their cabin. There's a couple of other little parts, like there's what looks like a feed bag, or maybe a bag that you would pick cotton into, hanging up on the window. There's a screen over the window. There's what looks like a harness behind the woman and a lantern. All right, what about the title? The title is Rural Rehabilitation Client, and it was taken by Ben Shawn, and it's depicting recipients of a federal aid program in Arkansas in 1935 at the Depression's low point. Okay? So, what might we get from the title? What was introduced in the 1930s to help us get out of the Depression? Huh?
There's a lot of like organizations that are involved.
And they were under what? The what? Okay, so under the New Deal, there were also artists and photographers that were given jobs because they didn't have any jobs because nobody had any money to pay them for these things that were not completely necessary. And they were actually hired by the government to go out and document what was going on in the country in terms of the Depression. All right? These people are recipients of federal aid. I may have misspelled that. Recipients of federal aid under the New Deal. All right? And the photographer is capturing these images for history. This painting was painted in 1930. The one next to it, American Gothic. All right, so in terms of imagery and inferences, what might we infer here? that's not directly stated.
They're broke.
They're broke. What else? Huh? Farmers. Are they struggling? Husband and wife, maybe? They're not happy? So what could we conclude about these people? Yeah, they're just trying to get by. All right, so now let's brainstorm other things that we see from this visual. Toss me out some things. Lantern.
Wood.
What kind of wood?
Log.
Logs. It's very rustic, all right? Whereas in the previous image, the wood has been milled, but this is just, a log cabin. There's gaps between the logs. Huh? They're not clean. They're unkempt. What else?
Clothes that like worn out.
It's a photograph. So it's going to present kind of a different level of reality than the painting, even though the photographer can, often alter the meaning of a photograph by angle and what's shot in it. But, that's important. He looks like he has hat hair. Maybe no electricity. What about their posture? Yep. And there looks like a harness that's hanging on the side of the building. And a feed sack. What about the lines?
Wait, do we have an assembly yet?
Yes.
Right after this class.
Okay, you guys. Yes, you don't have homework tonight because I didn't finish.
Good.
It'll be tomorrow night.
Good. Wait, go.